Updating on the industrial metaverse and what's happening with the metaverse these days, and maybe switching over to a little bit of AI talk. Thought we would broach a little bit about acquisitions in the industrial technology space. And moving on to some thoughts on Twitter and what's happening there and the chaos and confusion of the last several months, going back, oh gosh, to the summer of 2022. And a little bit of thought about streaming video and using it in different kinds of use cases. This podcast is sponsored by Inductive Automation. Discover all that Ignition by Inductive Automation can bring to your operations, packaged with features for the modern control system like unlimited licensing, high-powered tags, and a mobile-first flexible design environment for all devices. Ignition 8 supports enterprises of any size. See all Ignition has to offer at inductiveautomation.com. And a special thank you for another year renewal of the sponsorship from Inductive Automation. They've been great friends for 20 years now. Unbelievable. I guess we're all getting older. Hey, this is Gary. My last podcast, and this one's a little overdue. I've started it several times and was not able to find a place to finish it. And I'm actually at the ARC forum. I'm sitting in the lobby of the Renaissance, and this is some of their artificial greenery behind me. And I thought I would finish this podcast and then talk about what's going on at the ARC forum, which is lively, full of energy, and a lot of things going on. But God, I got to digest it and figure some sense out of everything I've heard. Well, let's take a look. I was on a panel where I was the moderator of an industrial metaverse discussion. And we talked about digital twins and sensors and things like that. Metaverse typically means augmented reality, AR, and virtual reality, VR, and some combination of all that stuff. Well, no sooner did I release I made a podcast and an essay on that, then Meta got rid of the verse in Metaverse and has laid off a lot of people, many in that Metaverse category. I don't know how many people were actually thinking about having a meeting when you could just go on Zoom and see everybody rather than dealing with avatars of people. Seemed a little goofy to me, but then I'm old and maybe I'm just not up with the 15-year-olds anymore or something like that. Maybe they would like interacting with avatars. But be that as it may, that's gone. Then Microsoft had an announcement where they laid off a lot of people, and they pretty much decimated their HoloLens group. And I've had many companies put a pair of HoloLens glasses on, and then I could, do things to adjust machines and so on, using AR, or look at, say, a robot in operation and see statistics up in front of my eyes and that sort of thing. Really good demos, but I'm not so sure how useful that was going to be to people in the real world. But anyway, it's all interesting technology. But anyway, Meta layoffs, Microsoft layoffs, other things are happening, and guess where everybody's going? AI. How about that? Machine learning, which is one segment of artificial intelligence, and especially all the stuff that has been hyped up by Chat GPT. Oh yes, it can write a C level, C grade level essay for a student. It can do some things like that. Everybody's playing with it and having fun, but that's not the use. That's not the reason why Microsoft invested billions in the company that developed that. The reason is search. Oh, yes. Search has gotten terrible. Have you ever tried that lately? Google, Bing, I don't care who. I used Ecosia, which basically uses Bing as its primary source of search. So I get page one, and then I search to page two, and about 3/4 of that's the same as page one, but that's after you wade through all the ads that come up first. And with the search engine optimization, page three is much like page two. Page four is like page three. It's like, it used to be you could go 17 pages in and you would discover a ton of stuff. Now, it's just not paying off. So Microsoft invested in OpenAI, and they say, okay, so with Chat GPT, you can ask questions and get better search results. Okay, we'll see. I don't know. But Google immediately said, I see your raise, and I raised you. We already have been working on a generative machine language, generative ML chat bot thing of our own. And we will be able to come out with one someday in the future. And so maybe, Seth Godin, who's a marketing guru and somebody I respect, and I listen to his podcast and read his books and all that kind of stuff. Seth basically said, at some point the hype will be over. We'll use these chat things for search. Maybe search will be better, and then we'll see, and we'll go on. So something to think about. I listened to an analyst from England, Benedict Evans. He worked for A16Z for a while, a venture capital firm in Silicon Valley, and he's been an analyst of a number of technologies. And he's got an interesting podcast. And I was listening to him the other day, and he was talking about asking questions of AI. Now, the thing of it is, AI, machine learning, is based on statistics. It's basically a statistics and probability kind of technology. And he said you get to a problem if you ask a logic question. If you ask a questions for yes and no, your answer will be less than satisfactory, or maybe they can't even answer it. But if you ask questions that it could tell a story or come up with something, that could be interesting. And I hadn't thought about it that way, but yes, don't ask machine learning to solve logic problems. It's a statistics-based thing, and it can do a lot of stuff. Later on, I'll talk about my recap of the ARC Advisory Group Industrial Forum, and I had a talk with an old friend, Mike Brooks, who now is at AspenTech, and he's a machine learning guy, and we're talking about using machine learning for asset performance management, but not for answering logic questions, but for answering questions like, check out all the statistics and tell me, within some reasonable margin of error, how in this process is going to stay stable or something like that. So anyway, that's what I was talking about and all that. So forget all that industrial metaverse stuff I was talking about. Actually, I'm not bullish on that anyway. I can't see people wearing hoods and goggles and things like that to see things. Actually, the best AR thing I have seen so far, maybe VR, I got a press release teasing me about an announcement coming up from Nokia at the Mobile World Conference in Barcelona coming up. And it said, put your camera on this QR code. And when I did that, and then I put my camera back over that again, this guy popped up in 3D, the PR guy popped up in 3D, standing there talking to me to give me the invitation for the upcoming news from Nokia. And I thought, okay, that's cool. It's a little more personable. I get a lot of press releases. I just saw somebody today. Gary, this is Allison. Nice to put a name and a face together. I said, yeah, we deal in text. So I don't know. That was an interesting use of AR. Maybe the best one I'm going to see for a while. Moving rapidly along, a few things about acquisitions and mergers and divestitures and so on. First off, ABB announced a couple of divestitures of some stuff in their power portfolio, and a lot of it was they bought a big chunk of stuff from GE, and they have been divesting the parts of it. They've kind of broke it up and used what they needed, and then they broke up parts of it and sold them, and they sold the last piece, and they said that's the last piece of that acquisition, and everything settled into its in its pieces, and now they've got to rationalize all their stuff going forward that they have in their direction going forward. And the chairman of ABB said at Davos that he expects each division area to make some small acquisitions to growth and bolster each of the businesses there. So don't expect an awful lot more from ABB. Talking to other people, I expect rationalization internally of getting things to work together more and more and more. They've bought a lot of stuff over the years. So that'll be interesting. The blockbuster news was Emerson announced a hostile takeover of National Instruments, or now called NI. I talked to a few people while I was here, a few ex or former NI people and some other people. And my first reaction was it's purely automation. And then I took a step back and said, wait. Emerson Corporation isn't automation. It's a conglomerate and they buy business units. Automation is one of their significant business units. But NI wouldn't necessarily have to fit within automation. More logically, it could fit, kind of as its own business unit aside from that. And looking at NI over the years, they've restructured. They've structured into, I've seen it come in a bit at a time over the last 10 years, and into discrete business units. Um, and the way it's structured is each one can stand on its own. And so say Emerson bought it and maybe they don't need the semiconductor testing. Well, the way it's structured is they could sell that to somebody, which will help pay for the acquisition. And then they would have these other test and measurement business units and we get them into some new businesses. So thinking with a CEO hat on, I thought, that makes an awful lot of sense. And that could be, I did not read the article. I saw an article on Twitter that, that talked about one of the founders of NI, Dr. Bouchard, saying that he thought it was a good deal that NI should accept the acquisition. And it could be there's just a dance going on to get more money. Who knows? So I said I'd talk about Twitter a little bit. Twitter's had a lot of chaos. The infamous Elon Musk tweeted himself that it was a mess and things were bad and why were they doing this? Why were they doing that? Not making any money. And then he said, well, I could buy you for X amount. And the board said, oh, okay. And then he said, oh, wait a minute. That's going to be difficult. I'll have to take on a lot of debt. Maybe I don't want to do it. And his excuse was bots, that there were too many bots and nobody ever defined how many bots were automatically doing all the tweeting on Twitter. Push came to shove. Elon bought it. He's got an awful lot of debt. He's got to pay down. He sold an awful lot of Tesla stock, making him not the wealthiest guy in the world anymore. And and he brought in a coterie of friends to help him figure out what to do with Twitter. One was Jason Calacanis. I've listened to him for like 15 years. Not impressed. I mean, yeah, he's got a 1,000 times more money than I do, but still, not impressed. So they laid off a ton of people, and probably the workforce is maybe a third of what it used to be. I don't know. And they laid off some significant areas of development. The Twitter stream really got bad. I mean, I was getting nothing but like political stuff, and I don't follow any political stuff, period. I don't need that. I went to graduate school in political science and took a look around and said, oh no, I don't like this. Now I went back into manufacturing, into engineering and more fun stuff than politics. Eventually they cleaned up the stream a little bit. They've got some new streams going. Eventually Musk stopped his combative and hyperbolic tweets. But Twitter itself has become less and less useful over the last several years. And I measure the impact of Twitter on my website. I have two primary ones. Twitter now sends essentially nobody. I can post something on Twitter and nobody's clicking on the link. It's not posting. I'm not getting notifications. There's an Apple pundit who, you get in that technology world. There's an awful lot of people. They have an awful lot more subscribers than I do. And Twitter is sending almost nobody as notifications or anything like that. The usefulness of Twitter has just gone down the tubes. Some people still use it for news. So they'll go to a news thing and just kind of scroll and catch up on the news in a little bit and then go. I don't know. To me, the signal to noise ratio was terrible. It's getting slightly better, but the usefulness of Twitter is, for me, just not there. I moved to Mastodon, but the trouble with Mastodon is not everybody's moved. You can't find your tribe. You don't know where people are because it's a federation. So for me, I couldn't get into Mastodon.social. It was already like at its, it was filled up. So I'm at Mastodon.techhub.social. So I'm Gary Minchell at techhub.social on Mastodon. But not a lot of people I know are there yet, and there's no good way to move your the people you follow from Twitter to find out if they're on Mastodon. So it's unfortunate. With the first few years from 2009 to 2015 or so, it was a great communication tool. And then they wanted to make it a newsfeed tool. Then they wanted to make it an algorithm, which is designed to make you stay on the site so you'll see more ads, kind of like Facebook. And it just became more and more and more useless. And don't know what'll happen there. I don't know if Twitter, will come back or not. Um, we'll just see what happens. If I don't expect big things, then I'm kind of gone. Thought I'd wrap up a little bit here with some stuff on streaming video. I talked to a company called Sensitive, and that's with an A, not an I. And I've been a video guy for a long time, or vision. I did some vision system integration back in the 90s, and we put it on machines in the 80s. So it goes back a long time. We got into some streaming video stuff, but it was useful for just a few things, maybe perimeter detection or something like that. Ran into this company Sensitive, and what they're doing is neither like perimeter security stuff or um, not for like quality control of a specific part within a machine, that or presence absence or something like that. They take the scope of the lens out, and it's more of an industrial application, industrial engineering application, such that they'll look at the operation maybe coming into and out of a machine, or maybe a whole line, or maybe, and they can look at material flow, workflow, flow through the machine. And I asked about, well, what about operators? Do they think they're being spied on? And he said, operators love it. They'll say, I told management for years, I've got this problem on this machine, balance or product coming in or whatever. And they never believed me. And now they've got this video and say, oh, there's blockages downstream, and that prevents you from keeping your production up. And so I don't know. It's an interesting take. They're a new company. What they provide is they don't provide you like gigabytes and terabytes of video data. They can find the anomaly place, they can sort that out and save it, but they provide to management and operators not videos, maybe snippets, but a dashboard of some sort with some analytics. And what they really do then is analytics based on all of that to help you make better decisions to manage your processes better, which is to me the whole idea of the technology. So anyway, wrapping it up, I talked about Metaverse and or lack thereof, acquisition news, Twitter and Mastodon, streaming video, a lot of interesting stuff going on. I'll have a recap before very long from ARC. There's a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of security things, openness and digital transformation talk, and that sort of thing. A lot of people were talking data. I said, hey, I just pulled a book to read on the airplane, and I have to pull off my bookshelf from Nassim Taleb, Fooled by Randomness. And very early in the book, he talks about drowning in data. So I have been asking people about, are you contributing to drowning people in data? Something to think about for my next podcast. Thanks for listening. This podcast is sponsored by Inductive Automation. Discover all that Ignition by Inductive Automation can bring you to your operations, packaged with features for the modern control system like unlimited licensing, high-powered tags, a mobile-first flexible design environment for all devices. Ignition 8 supports enterprises of any size. See all Ignition has to offer at inductiveautomation.com. Thanks for listening, and go out and be kind. Thank you. Bye.